Okay, we are live. We are live. It's Friday, July 5th. Yesterday was the 4th. I hope everyone had a wonderful 4th of July. Freedom, independence, liberty. Yes, that's what we're about. I'm contemplating whether or not to even do this because a lot of people, I feel like on July 5th, I feel a lot of people are just like, they're tired. Right? You're tired. You've been up watching fireworks, partying, celebrating liberty and freedom. And I don't know. You're just like, I talked to my husband today. He's like, do you work? Do we work on the 5th? Like that should be a holiday, right? Shouldn't it be a holiday? But I thought I'd still get on. I thought I'd still get on and recap this week, give a little rundown of what happened in case you didn't know. For me, when you're a mom and it's summer break, you do lose track of time. Like you're like, what day is it? What time? Where is it? It's July? Seriously? So I it's just kind of, it all blends together. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it just is all kind of just like, so it's Friday, it's July 5th, and we're going to do a recap the week. We're just going to do it. So what's up? I see YouTube up in here. Hey guys, around the town. I'm getting better at saying that. Roger on YouTube. Bob, what's up? Hey guys. Tammy on Facebook. The 5th should be a holiday. Yes, it should, Tammy. I agree. And not that I'm like anti-work, guys. I capitalist right here. That's me. But I do feel like the next day after the 4th, you're like, what? I'm drinking my coffee and just getting through, right? Just get through it. I was up late too. We went and saw fireworks, and then we came home from the fireworks, and we still had some fireworks. And I'm a big fireworks person. Like I love it. Like I'm like, light it up. Let's see what it does. And so we did that again after we got home. And it is hard on, I get people, neighbor. I could be that neighbor that you're like, could you stop? I mean, I think at a certain point you do stop. I mean, we were done and went to bed, and then we still heard people shooting them off at like after midnight. And you're like, okay, like it's time. But the hard part is the dogs, right? I have a dog, Ringo. I post about him here and there on Instagram, and he not a fan of the fireworks. No. But I felt like he was better actually when he was outside with us watching the fireworks, like us light them off, than he was inside. It was kind of like showing him what was happening. And by the end of it, he was pretty like, okay. I got him a lot of bones to chew on to help with the anxiety. And anyways, I just random talk. Okay. So let's talk about this week. The beginning of this week, we had the Supreme Court ruling that Trump has presidential immunity. And then from there, we saw the complete meltdown of the media. Just absolutely like, this has been standing for over 40 years. So I don't know why they were like, with Trump, he doesn't have presidential immunity, but other presidents do. Trump, no. Other president, yes, they do. No, same for Trump. They ruled that he has presidential immunity on official acts. And this is where you saw the disconnect with the media, because they were like, so he can just shoot someone? Like he can just walk up to someone and just shoot them? No, that's not an official act, okay? There's official and then not official. Let's say, for instance, you're fighting a war in Afghanistan and you accidentally, horribly, terribly, should not happen, but kill innocent people in the process, like Biden did. Killed a family of 10 in 2021 over in Afghanistan, accidentally. Oops, not good, terrible, tragic, horrible thing. But hey, if we're going to say, you're guilty of anything and there's no official or unofficial acts, and we could hold Biden and charge him with murder, multiple counts of murder if we wanted to. But that was an official act. Okay. So there's a difference. So everyone having this complete, I mean, I was amazed at some of the news correspondents, pundits, just completely, they're like, so he's a king now. He's a king. No, he's not a king. If he does something completely illegal, and then he would be, and then it's not under in the official executive act of presidency, then yes, he would he would be held liable. So that's that. It's just become so messy at this point that I can't take the news seriously. I know you guys are like, yeah, we haven't been taking them seriously for like the last decade. But the meltdown on that was amazing to me. And it was very entertaining, actually. And if this was not July 4th week where you got family and friends and activities going on, I would have been able to shoot something satirically to ridicule the mass hysteria over the fact that, yes, Trump does have presidential immunity on official acts. Otherwise, this is what would happen. Okay. Every single president would be tried, and then they wouldn't be able to freely act under the presidency. Like, they wouldn't be able to make decisions because they'd be like, wait a minute, if I get out of here, then, if I call for this drone strike, or if I say this or that, then they're going to try me with this when I leave office. I mean, it would just be a constant state of paranoia. You have to be able to liberally execute your positions and your beliefs while president. Like, that's just, as long as it's official and non-official. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yes. And that kind of causes a lot of stuff to unravel now, because the Jack Smith case with the January 6th, they're having to push things back. Most likely you're not going to have any kind of trial or anything like that before the election. And that's why the left is melting down, because the goal has always been to list off. I mean, how many indictments does Trump have? Just massive amounts of indictments, and convict him on something so much so that it's going to move the needle. Well, it's not moving the needle. Okay. And so they thought, well, this January 6th thing is really going to move the needle. I mean, the insurrectionists, right? Even though he did say peacefully and patriotically, let your voice be known, but the media never tells you that part. They want to say that he caused an insurrection, right? So that's been the whole goal all along, because they can't beat Trump on policies. You can't beat him just in a fair match, right? There's got to be some kind of angle, either math ballots or unleash the new strain of whatever, or let's get him held up in court or convict him. I mean, because Democrat policies are absolutely horrendous. They're horrendous. They're terrible. We've been living under them. It's not been good. People are just getting by. They're just getting by at this point. So you can't beat them. You can't beat them on immigration. You can't beat them on securing our border. You can't beat them on the economy. You can't beat them on free speech. You can't. Every single thing that the Democrats and the leftists align on, it's what good comes from it? Honestly, what good have they enacted over the last 3.5 years? Like, what? Just ask yourself, how is my life better? What has been so great under this leftist reign? What has Biden done? It's not been good. And if it has been good, then you're actually probably super, super rich. So you're not impacted. You don't care. But for everybody else, it's not been good. It's not been good. So that happened. That was a 6-3 ruling by the Supreme Court. So pretty massively done. Roberts wrote, the president is not above the law, but Congress may not criminalize the president's conduct in carrying out the responsibilities of the executive branch under the Constitution. So yeah, I mean, as expected, and it's been this way for the last 40 years. So it's like, what? They just thought that they would change it under Trump. Okay. Also, I want, and like I said, other presidents, Biden, with the tragedy of the family in Afghanistan that was killed, and under Obama, there were U.S. citizens killed in drone strikes. I mean, are we gonna hold him? Are we gonna charge him with something? I mean, there has to be, the president has to be able to carry out official acts. That's just how it's got to be. So that was a good call. I'm very, very happy with it. The Chevron decision. So when all of this was happening, and we're going to talk about the media meltdown as well with Biden's cognitive abilities, because wow, if they're just now realizing that the guy is struggling, then they shouldn't be journalists. And if they did know he was struggling and they didn't let you know about it, they shouldn't be journalists. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But while all of that was happening, a big decision came down, and I started to read up on it because I was like, what's the Chevron? What is this about? And I wanted to find out because, so I started to look into it. So a 40-year-old decision, it made it possible for the federal government to regulate the environment, public health, workplace safety, and consumer protections, delivering a far-reaching and potentially lucrative victory to business interests. So basically, this decision, this is called the Chevron Decision, the Chevron Doctrine, and it was ruled in 1984. And it stated that if Congress writes legislation for an agency, and if there is ambiguity in the law for that agency, then the agency, the bureaucrats in that agency would make the call. Like they would clarify any ambiguity, basically like deciding their own powers. And they've said this has kind of been like an acting fourth branch of government for almost 40 years. Okay. Well, for 40 years. So these agencies basically have decided what goes and what doesn't go for 40 years. So it not necessarily, it kind of kicked it over to these bureaucrats to make up rules and regulations and kind of negating Congress on a lot of that. And Congress is supposed to make the like law, right? Rules, laws, regulations, like that's what should be coming from Congress. But this doctrine booted it to like a fourth branch of government. So if there's ambiguity in a law, then the agency gets to decide what it means. And that's bad. So the executive branch is often teamed up with these agencies to push rules, regulations on people, businesses, and so forth. So it's been really bad, and it's just really kind of enlarged government, right? You see these, government has become so grotesquely large, and it was never intended to be that way. Like government, according to our Constitution, according to our founding fathers, wanted to limit the role of government. Government should not be that big, okay? But they just kept expanding. In this practice, the federal government, such as like the Environmental Protection Agency, they had the freedom to create and implement rules without any fear of legal battles, right? So they were just kind of like everybody, these agencies were just going rogue. They're like, we can do whatever we want and you must obey us. And we're not even elected officials. We're just government employees. Yay. Often the executive branch would team up with these agencies to push what they wanted up until 2020. So in 2020, a group of herring fishermen came forward, and actually this actually comes out against Trump in a way. The Trump administration began requiring that these fishermen cover the cost of taking federal monitors on fishing trips. So you had to bring like a federal monitor to observe like how you're doing it. Is it humanely done? What's the process? How is this, how are you fishing correctly? Kind of like a regulator, right? On these fishing vessels, and the fishermen had to pay the cost. And that's really expensive for a fisherman to get a monitor to come on all these, your fishing expeditions and making sure that you're doing everything correctly. And okay, it was so, and they made it illegal to fish without these guys, okay, on board. And so Atlantic fishery, an area that extends in Maine and North Carolina, they previously didn't pay. They didn't have to pay for these monitors. Well, the Chevron decision forced the fishermen to have monitors. So this ends up going all the way up to the Supreme Court. Okay. Well, before it goes to the Supreme Court, it was ruled in New Jersey and Rhode Island, who challenged the fee requirement. The lower courts used the Chevron decision to uphold the 2020, it's called the National Marine Fisheries Service rule. And so they ruled in 2020 that they had to keep it. Well, then the fishermen are like, no, we're going to take this to the Supreme Court. They take it all the way up to the Supreme Court, and this gets struck down. Okay. The law now has been returned to Congress. So Congress should make this law, not the EPA, not any other regulators on what fishermen should do. If Congress wants to make a law that fishermen need to bring monitors on their trips, then this should go through the Congress. It should go through Congress, not some fourth branch of government that from a bunch of unelected bureaucrats that we never appointed these guys to make our laws. We don't know who you are. So basically these laws now, a lot of these regulations are going to come crumbling down, which is excellent. It's fantastic. So this law returns this ruling returns laws back to Congress. And if there's any kind of discrepancy on it, then the courts would decide whether it's constitutional or not. And that's how it should be. So this is actually a huge, huge decision that was made that kind of went under the radar, but that's the Chevron decision. Chevron was struck down basically by the Supreme Court this last week, basically saying a lot of these fourth branch of government, these regulators, these bureaucrats, they can't impose rules and regulations on the American people. If they want something done, it needs to go through Congress, right? And if Congress enacts a law that's just absolutely absurd, that goes against our constitutional rights, then it gets struck down by the courts. That's the way it works with the three branches of government. So, yay, this is a good thing. Very good thing. Also, just yesterday, the UK held their elections. And I'm not some savvy person on the way the UK operates, but I do know that the Labour Party basically took over. And the Labour Party they're socialists / communists. I mean, they're full on, all in on 100% government, big government, ruling over the masses. And the reason why this happened, and they took it from conservatives, you guys, conservatives. But the conservatives over there basically were pretty much rhinos. Okay. You didn't have true blue, true red, true real conservatives running things over in England and Britain over these last several years. They've been in charge, but they haven't been running things like conservatives would. It's the mass immigration, way more government overreach under these conservatives. So basically they're rhinos, they're not real conservatives. And it looks like Britain has had enough of it. So they're like, you know what, let's just go full on socialism, basically full on open immigration, usher everybody in, and it's going to get nuts. I really do actually feel very sorry for Britain because they have embraced the Labour Party, and the Labour Party they're everything we fight against, everything we do not align ourselves with. And it's bad. It's going to get ugly for England. It is. Just for an example, I saw a video of this woman. Her name is Rachel Mascow. She's a part of the Labour Party in the Parliament, and she basically is giving this speech here. I'm going to show it to you. What does it matter if immigration means that we need to wait a week to get into the hospital if we have a problem or an issue? And that just exposes that these people are going to open up Britain's borders even wider with immigration, and there's really no handle on it. And when you don't have any kind of, I don't know, control over who's coming in to your country, the country will fundamentally and completely transform. Totally. So here she is. This is what the Labor Party is.
1,000 is not enough. 30,000 is not enough. At saturation point, because what does it matter if we have to wait another week for a hospital visit, or if our class sizes are slightly bigger, or if our city is slightly fuller? What does it matter if things are slightly more challenging, if we have...
Okay, so she's basically like, open up the floodgates. We've seen what that happens just in the last 3.5 years under the Biden administration. When you open up the floodgates on immigration and you have no check, you have increased crime, you have increased drugs, you have American citizens being harmed by a lot of mass immigration, and it impacts your economy, it impacts everything it touches, right? So the Labor Party's all in on this, and it's going to be sad, I think, to watch what happens to Britain as these guys take complete control and have their way, basically have their way. So here we go. That's the UK elections. Also, I wanted to touch on this because it's starting to pick up a little steam. My son is, he's trying to call me on he has a little watch that he's able to call me on. I'm like, I am busy. Anyways, okay, so this is Project 2025. And a lot of people are talking about this, and I feel like it's being used as a scare tactic to scare a lot of the people in the middle. For instance, I'm reading just some of the memes because that's what I like to do, but they're talking about how, and the Project 2025 is actually, it's a kind of an agenda of what happens when Trump takes over or when a Republican gets into office, assuming Trump is the nominee, correct? So when Trump gets in, what we're going to do, how we're going to enact things, how we're going to get things done. It's very right wing. It's conservative, but it says how they're going to execute power, right? But some of the wording in it, I just wouldn't use. And that's where the struggle is with conservatives, is with messaging. I mean, obviously that's like my passion and that's what I care about, because you've got your base, right? Like, this is what conservatives don't understand. You've got your base, right? Trump supporters are Trump supporters. Conservatives are conservative. Republicans generally will vote Republican. So you've got that. You don't need to worry about that. That's not my concern, really. That's not where my heart lies. My concern and my heart is getting with the people in the middle, because you cannot win elections without the people in the middle. Well, when you read some of this Project 2025, and a lot of it is great stuff. I'm not going to lie. It's good stuff. I might disagree with some of it, but a lot of it's, family values, getting rid of the Department of Education, in that because the Department of Education is and returning it to local, right? Local education, right? Not having this mass entity educate from DC, but having local education, local people on the ground. Getting rid of a lot of the woke ideology in schools. It addresses abortion. It addresses, what else did they talk about? Foreign aid, limiting foreign aid. Just promoting like the nuclear family, reducing taxes, withdrawing from the UN on climate change, a lot of that stuff, get rid of a lot of the regulations that are happening there. But very like conservative. But the problem with this stuff, and this is where my frustration is when you read, like, just for example, we're in the process of a second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be. Like, I don't know. Why would you say it that way? Like, I don't. Like, why are we even talking about bloodshed? Like, we don't need, it's some of the wording that causes the middle to be like, oh my gosh, what bloodshed? What? Like, you don't need to say that. Okay. Another thing, we're systematically preparing to march into office and bring a new army of aligned, trained, and essentially weaponized conservatives ready to do battle against the deep state. Yeah, that sounds great, right? But to somebody in the middle, that sounds like it could get violent. So the wording is like, why? Like, who's messaging for you guys? Honestly, like, who's like, yes, let's go with that, because the person in the middle is going to be like, yes, an army of conservatives. They don't want an army of conservatives. They just want to be able to go grocery shopping and not freak out when it's time to enter their credit card into paying for all of it. They just want to fill their gas tank out without like having to chew their fingernails apart. Like they want to be able to go on a family vacation. That's the middle's pretty easy. Like they're simple. They're simple. They want to return to normalcy. Yeah, they don't want a lot of this indoctrination and woke stuff pushed into schools. They don't. But messaging to the middle is so important. And this is where conservatives struggle. And it's like, I don't know how to get to them. I have been trying, but we have to get them in order to win. So talking about putting together an army and taking out, ready for battle, that's not the messaging that needs to be heard from the middle. And I like the Heritage Foundation. I really do. I like them. I support a lot of what they say and do. But we've got to realize that if we want to win, if you want to be in control, you have to be able to get the middle to join your cause. That doesn't mean you compromise your values, because people are like, you just want to be milk toast. You're just weak, lukewarm. No, you can still be passionate about what you believe in while tailoring the messaging to be able to bring that middle in. And that's what I like to do. I think that comedy does that. I think that satire does that. I think the parody does that. I think invoking emotion through drama and I think that also brings that middle voter in. That's what I believe in, and that's what we should be doing. So anyways, okay, that's a long intro to all of this. But anyways, so this Project 2025 is starting to like scare a lot of people. They're like, oh yeah. When you actually read Project 2025, it's not scary. Okay. The wording is not necessarily good, but the way they worded and used certain verbs, not necessarily good, but the agenda, not anything that I'm like, oh my gosh, like I do believe in family values. I do believe in limiting war and pulling back on a lot of these regulations. And I do believe in returning like God-focused principles into our society. Like I agree with all of that. It's just the presentation to the middle. It needs to be done with more thought. Do you know what I'm saying? So anyway, so there's a lot of people freaking out, panicking over this, but I would encourage you to just read Project 2025. It's not scary, but also realize that Trump has nothing to do with this. Okay. That's where the catch is, because they're saying this is Trump. Trump has absolutely nothing to do with Project 2025. In fact, let me get this for you. He truthed out this morning, basically saying that I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who is behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them. So he just reiterated that that's not his agenda, right? That's not what he's doing. If you want to read Trump's agenda, if you want to read what Trump is about, go to his website. It's donaldjtrump.com, Agenda 47. And in Agenda 47, it lays out what Trump wants. And it's nothing extreme. It's nothing. It's pretty protecting Americans from big pharma. Let's go through some of them. Protecting students from radical leftist Marxist infiltration in schools. Rebuilding America's depleted military. Rescuing America auto industry. Death penalty for human traffickers, which definitely should happen. Returning production of essential medicines back to America and ending Biden's pharmaceutical shortages. We need lower costs on energy and electricity. Like, it's all there. His agenda is all there. Agenda 47. If you're like, what is Trump about? Like, what is he about? Go there. Don't even worry about this Project 2025. Go to Agenda 47. You can read it, and then you can decide, do I align with this stuff? Is this something that I believe in? I do. I wholeheartedly do. And also, I think, like, having done this for I've been doing this for like a decade. And I think I have a pretty good grasp on Trump. Trump is definitely more socially liberal than I am. Okay. He just is. He's fiscally conservative, but when it comes down to some of the cultural stuff, he's a little bit more liberal. He just is. He always has been. So while a lot of these scare tactics that the left are using about, like, social issues, that's not Trump. Like, they can't even put that on Trump because he's never really been like hardcore socially conservative. Like, that he never has been that way. So also use that, like, think on that before you're like, oh my gosh, what? So, anyways, I think that that's important to address because it's starting to get a little hysteria. And if someone says, hey, have you read Project 2025? You could say, yeah, I looked it over, and it has nothing to do with Trump. Trump actually vocally spoke out that he has no affiliation with it whatsoever. But if you do want to know Trump's agenda and what Trump is about, I would suggest you reading Agenda 47. And that lists out what his agenda is for the 47th presidency. So that's the answer to that one, because it's getting a little like, it's getting a little drama. It's getting dramatic, and it's like, just calm it down and read Trump's agenda. Okay. That's his agenda. Project 2025 is separate from that. So anyways, I felt like I needed to address that because it's starting to pick up a little steam, and I'm like, okay. And sometimes, I don't know. You got to question who's behind what and what's being pushed and why is it being pushed. And like I said, it's all about getting the middle voter. So does this attract the middle voter? And I think that you got to be vigilant on this stuff. And for you, the viewer, the person that's like, yeah, I'm voting Trump. I can't do this anymore with Biden. This is insane. Like, I don't like the direction we're heading. Like, for you, just ask yourself, how do I reach the middle? Like, because you obviously have a passion, you're watching, you care about politics, you're a little bit more involved. But the main goal for all of us is, how do we get friends, family, people in the middle to see it? Like, how do we get them to see it? Because if they don't see it, we lose, right? So what could we potentially agree upon? I think a lot of it is the economy and immigration. For people in the middle, they care about those things. It's the top thing polling. Address that when you're trying to get somebody to hear what you're trying to say. And talking about armies and militaries and fighting and all that stuff, that's not going to get that middle voter. The middle voter wants to know that their kids are going to be safe, that immigration, we've got to hold on immigration, that we're going to protect kids from this fentanyl, from the drugs, from all of this stuff. We're going to get the economy moving again. I mean, people are living paycheck to paycheck. They're not, they're not going out to dinner as much. People aren't buying. They're not consuming as much. It's just kind of, Like we're ready for a revamp. I think everybody's ready for like let's get rolling again as Americans, as America. So that needs to be the talking points. And how do we do that? Right. So anyways, what else? Okay. So we have to talk about, okay. Really quick. We have to talk about, Kamala. Kamala is in, she's the hot topic, guys. And what's interesting to me is I did not think that they were going to, I didn't think that they're going to push Kamala because Kamala polls horribly, but you're starting to see the break. Are you guys not seeing the break? I mean, the break is happening where you've got a lot of the media suddenly talking about Biden's cognitive abilities. Can he continue to do this? Then you heard this week, no, Biden's staying in it. We're going to forge ahead. I'm sticking with Biden. Like a lot of back and forth. But a lot of the media, you're starting to see Kate. Like even like when I like open up a browser and it's like Yahoo or something like that, and it's like the headlines you're reading now, it's starting to kind of like plant seeds. That's what they do. They plant seeds before they do anything, right? Because being like, we're pulling Biden, we're putting Kamala in, we're going to get a new VP. Like they can't do that. They have to groom you into what they're going to do, but they have to move fairly quickly because the election is not that far away. But I found this interesting. Like you're starting to see people break. And just for example, The Economist today, this is what they had as their cover here. Look at this. Okay. The Economist. And it says, no way to run a country. And it has like a walker with the presidential seal on it. Okay. The Economist is not a conservative, news outlet whatsoever. So you're starting to see a break. And when you start to just scroll throughout things, you're on the internet, you start to see the break happening. Now, what I think they're realizing is we can't jump over Kamala. Like we can't. But we're starting to realize that a lot of them are breaking. But before we start to fully talk about this, I found this absolutely hilarious. Okay, watch this. This is what is his name? He's a guy on MSNBC. And I'm just going to show you the beginning clip of this. But he suggests in future presidential debates that the president brings their staff with them, or the candidate does. They bring their staff and they can consult with their candidate on the stage during the debate. I'm not kidding. This guy says it.
It's to have as many staff as they want, join them on the stage throughout the debate, and make sure that all of them have microphones. And the candidates should be allowed to turn to their staffs and confer with them about anything at any time in the debate.
It's like, are you for real? Like, he's for real. He's like, we can't let Biden go out there again. Like he needs to bring his staff with him. So now the president needs helpers. Now the president needs to have people that help him think about what the right answer could be, or how to argue your case correctly, so that the American people can understand what you're trying to say. So that's where we're at. The media is now saying that the candidates should have helpers on the stage with them. Here's the thing. If you need someone and you're running for the most powerful position in the entire universe that we know about, okay? Like the entire world. If you need a helper to come on with you and tell you what to say during a debate, you shouldn't be running for that position. Just bow out. Like it's time to gracefully bow out and head out to that pasture. Man, I mean, it is time. You got to be able to debate. You got to be able to get what you're trying to say across the American people so they understand what you're trying to say. You got to be able to argue your case as an individual. And if you can't do that, you should not be president. Okay. But what I'm finding now is that the think tank, the big Democrat think tank. And when we talk think tank, you've got the globalists involved in this. You've got the Democrats involved in this. You've got the far leftists. You've got, I mean, these are all people that are really controlling the show, right? I mean, I think we saw last week after Biden got off the stage and he was helped by Joe off the stage because he couldn't get off the stage on his own. I think at that point we saw, okay, who is in charge right now? Like, honestly, who is making the calls? Because it's obviously not that guy. So these guys are all thinking right now. They're thinking, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And you really can't jump over Kamala. Like, you can't. Like, I don't know how you make that move, right? And she doesn't necessarily want to be jumped over. I mean, so this is who they most likely have to run. Kamala. That's their girl. That is their choice. This lady.
And imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know? What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been.
What 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 can be unburdened by what has been.
Who we can be unburdened by who we have been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
Where we can be unburdened by where we have been. And
okay, so that goes on for 4 minutes. I'm not kidding you. That's like, it's 4 minutes of what can be unburdened by what has been. Okay, so that is their most likely candidate, which if I was in that camp right now, I'd be like, oh, what are we gonna do? So there's gotta be panic behind the scenes. And if only I could watch it. I mean, in my head, I try to create it and think about what they're talking about, but wow. So there's a problem. We've got a problem. They're like, red alarm, sound the alarm. We've got a problem. They are going to have to go with her, I think, unless like some kind of negotiation beyond negotiations gets made where Kamala's like, yeah, okay, just skip me and just whole new ticket. So, I mean, and they're probably thinking, well, could we put a VP with her? Like a VP that is just so phenomenal that could get incredible turnout, that just really shakes up the vote and gets everyone out there and excited. I mean, that's what they're thinking. Like, could we put her with somebody that just really gets, yes? Or do we throw it to a contested convention? And contested convention means that anything could happen at the Democrat National Convention, right? I mean, anything. They could nominate from the floor. So that is what's going on. But then you have the other people in the same camp that are like, no, Biden can do it. We're going to get him through the finish line. But I don't even know. I don't know how he can make it through another debate. Like, honestly, I don't know. And unless you do what this guy says, who's this?
And we should be able to hear everything they say.
Yeah, unless we get this guy in there to bring forth your helpers, unless they bring out like a whole team to help Biden through this next debate. I mean, this is very interesting. We've never been here before. We have never, ever been here before. And it's, to be honest with you, it's pretty exciting. It's exciting at the same time, absolutely terrifying. So that's where we're at. And I don't know. I wish I could tell you how this all is going to pan out, but I have no idea. I'm just as clueless as you guys are on all of what will unfold. And we have to also take into account, these people love power. Like they have enjoyed, unlike you, they have enjoyed the last 3.5 years. I mean, they have loved it. So they're not going to be like, we're just going to like let them, we'll just come back in 4 years. You guys take it. We'll come back in 4 years. It's all good. Like, it's cool. It's cool. Right. Like, no big deal. No, they don't want to let up. I mean, they're like, we will not relinquish the power. So I always think they've got something else. Something else is planned. They're thinking about something else. I mean, never underestimate what far leftists, people that love power, tyrants, will do. Never underestimate them. I mean, and if you study history, they're tyrants and people that love power will go to evil extremes to keep it. So that's where I'm like, what is going to happen? And we just gotta trust God. I mean, that's what I come down to. Like, it's just like, I gotta trust God that it's going to work out. It's got to work out for the good, regardless of what lies ahead. But you've got surprises, guys. They've always, I mean, come on, 2020. You guys remember 2020? It wasn't too long ago. It was one thing after another. So here we are. They're cooking up something. I'll tell you that. So here we go. It's going to be interesting. Trust God, and just I come back to my faith, because I'm like, I have no idea what they're going to do or what they have planned. And hopefully in the process of all of it, people are waking up. I mean, hopefully, my hope is, and it's always with the middle, my hope is the people that watched that debate last week, they had to have some moment of pause and think to themselves, we were told Biden was fine. Like, we've been told that his stutter is great, that it's from childhood, even though he didn't stutter all the way through his Senate years, like as a senator, like he didn't. Okay, look at old videos of him talking from the Senate floor. Very clear, concise, excellent speaker. We were told that the reason why he talks like that is because of a stutter. We were told that he's fine. We were told that, when he gets so much done in a day that he just runs laps around everyone else. Like, that's what they've been telling us, that they've been telling us that everything's okay. And this is not okay. So hopefully the people watching are like, maybe we've been lied to. Maybe they've been lying to us. And if they've been lying to us about this, then what else have they lied to us about? Did they lie to us about COVID? Did they lie to us about the border? Did they lie to us about inflation? Remember, inflation was transitory. Do you remember that? Maybe they've lied to us about other things. And when you start to ask the questions, and when you start to say, well, wait a minute, maybe they've been lying to us about other things. And once you start that, then you start asking questions. Well, what else have you lied about? What else have you lied about? And once you start asking questions, then it starts to break. The dam starts to break, because once you start asking questions and you start seeking truth, then then you can't be controlled anymore. They can't control you. Because then you start to forget. You're like, wait a minute, I want the truth. Is he well or is he not well? Clearly he's not well. So obviously you've been lying. What else have you been lying about? Let's find out. And once you start down that path, that's when people start to wake up. So hopefully, my hope is some people, we can't get all of them, but some people are starting to wake up. Some people started to wake up as they watched that debate last week, and they're thinking, wait a minute. I mean, that's and some people, it takes longer. A lot of people woke up after COVID. I mean, a lot of people woke up during COVID. I know so many people that woke up during that time. And sometimes, and that's just how good God is, right? He'll give you things he loves us so much that he's like, I want you to see the truth, right? I want you to see what they're trying to do to your country. I want you to see what they're trying to do to this nation. I want you to see it. And he provides opportunities for people to see. Now, whether people want to see or not, it's up to the individual, right? But once you start seeking truth and you start asking questions and you want the truth, then you have the ability to start to see. And once you see it, game over. Game over. Like you can't go back. You can't go back after you see the truth. You're like, no, I know what's really happening here. So, and that's what we want. So that's my heart's desire, right? So hopefully people are waking up. That's what we gotta hope for. That's what we gotta pray for. Okay. So that is a rundown of the week, the recap of the week. Oh, really quick. I do want to do a shout out to Redemption Shield. I'm going to play this quick video for you guys. Gina over at Redemption Shield, she provides products that help limit how much radiation your body is taking in. I want to show you this. It's so little fun. This is like a little fanny pack you can wear. And everyone, the trend is that everyone wears the Lululemon, right? Like they're all like lemon. Well, this is Redemption Shield. But the cool thing about this that a Lululemon doesn't do is it protects radiation coming out from your phone. So you can actually put your phone in here and it limits the radiation coming out. And that's what I'm like, this is awesome. It's awesome for, especially like if you're a pregnant mom and you're like, I just don't know about all of this radiation taking place. I want to limit it. I think any kind of limiting you could do on radiation is great. I've been using their grounding sheets this last couple weeks, and I really, really am enjoying it. I do feel way more energized, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I do feel like I have more energy with these grounding sheets. They've got copper and silver in them, and you actually plug there's a grounding port wire that goes from the sheet into your outlet, but it's not like electric. It's the bottom little round plug at the bottom, and it's a copper grounding. So I want to give a shout out to her, and you guys can watch this really quick.
Technology surrounds us. Our exposure to EMR, or electromagnetic radiation, is higher than ever before, with over 400,000 cell towers and antennas in the United States alone, not to mention Wi-Fi that runs 24/7 in our home, cell phones that are carried in our pockets hours on end, and hundreds of 5G satellites in our orbit. Common complaints are ringing in the ear, sleep deprivation, heart palpitations, insomnia, and so much more. Start protecting your family today. Fellow Patriots, introducing Redemption Shield, your EMF protection products. With over 700 5-star reviews, Redemption Shield is leading the way in shielding and grounding products, taking inflammation out of your body with grounding bed mats, grounding bed sheets, hats, scarves, Wi-Fi router covers, cell phone bags. Come and see us today at redemptionshield.com and get grounded and shielded. redemptionshield.com. Use code MOM and save 10%.
So that's redemptionshield.com. Check it out. You can use promo code MOM and you get 10% off. And so, yeah, that's a wrap for today, you guys. I appreciate you. I'm thankful for you. I do a shout out to my Patreon supporters and my Facebook supporters. You guys keep this going. Honestly, I would not be doing this if I didn't have your support. So always know that you guys can come support me over at Patreon. You can support for $3 a month. It helps me buy the wigs. That's what I tell people. It helps buy the wigs. It promotes the satire. Most people, that's why they follow, is because they like the comedy. They like the satire. They like that's what they're about. And I feel like, honestly, that's my heart, is to reach the middle voter. And I know I've talked about them a lot today, but that's how we win. You have to win over the middle. And a lot of that is done through emotion. And that's a way you guys can help. Sometimes people are like, well, how do I help? What can I do? Well, you can support people that are actually out there vocalizing and trying to reach the middle. And that's what I'm trying to do. So a shout out to all of you guys that do support me. I see Peggy on here. Thank you for your support. I've seen a couple other on here that are supporting me monthly, and it really means a lot. It keeps me going. So with that said, I'm wishing you guys a wonderful and blessed weekend, and, love the people right in front of you, and speak the truth in love, and we can win this thing. All right, you guys, we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.